International political philosophy before 1920. Karl Marx (1818–1883). Part 2. Karl Marx was born in a century of John Locke's death. Coming of age during the 19th century Industrial Revolution, Marx was concerned with different questions to those that concerned either Locke or Hobbes. He was especially interested in how the unequal distribution of wealth among factory workers and factory owners could affect day-to-day political systems. Through the prism of materialism, Marx interpreted the world, believing that any understanding of the political community must be based on the physical and economic conditions under which that community exists. Hence, economics is the key Marx used to activate his political theory. Also, he believed history was dialectical. Humanity's history is influenced by clashes of opposing ideas and groups which produce new historical trends. Marx combines materialism and dialectical approach by concentrating on the class struggle between the two key socio-economic classes of modern society, the bourgeoisie which controls the production and distribution of products, and the proletariat which sells its labor to the bourgeoisie in exchange for a small portion of the income derived from its work. Politics is merely a tool used by the wealthy to protect their economic interests at home and abroad, he concludes. Wars are fought to reach or protect existing resources and markets. Trade is pursued to the advantage of capitalist owners rather than proletarian workers. Governments are instruments in the hands of the most wealthy members of society. According to Marx, the laws they pass are intended to protect their own bourgeois interests from proletarian uprisings at home and from competition from the bourgeoisies from other states abroad. In the years before he became Soviet Union leader, applying Marx's political philosophy to international relations came down to Vladimir Lenin. Lenin identified imperialism as the highest form of capitalism, the belief in the desirability of acquiring colonies and territories overseas, the economic system that dominates global production and trade. According to Lenin, the race for African colonies among European states at the end of the 19th century was not a patriotic but an economic one. That would ensure access to the natural resources of Africa for European industry and open the colonial markets to goods and services controlled by the British, French, German, Belgian or Portuguese bourgeoisie. For example, French Indochina, today Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos was the French auto industry's main supplier of rubber before became independent in the 1950s. Imperialism also allows the national bourgeoisie, whether British, Russian or American, to use colonial resources to reward loyal proletarians at home. The British managed to give their workers access to cheap Indian tea and cotton. In order to help the British bourgeoisie control proletarians at home, Indian and Chinese workers suffered as a result. Only one example of how imperialism helped to maintain capitalism at home while extending it abroad. Whereas the end of the Cold War saw the fall of many communist regimes around the world, Marxism itself remained a major source of theoretical inspiration for critically disposed of IR authors. His theories have been influential in our understanding of the world around us. They also shed light on the role of economic actors in international relations, like transnational corporations (TNCs). The ideas of Marx often resonate with analysts examining the relationship between the global economy's industrialized core and its much poorer periphery. While the former produces high-value goods and services, the latter is primarily limited to producing low-value raw materials supplied to industrial interests located in or owned by core economy's bourgeois leaders. The ideas of Marx also resonate with analysts examining the relationship between the global economy's industrialized core and its much poorer periphery. While the former produces high-value goods and services, the latter is primarily limited to manufacturing low-value raw materials supplied to industrial interests located in or owned by core economy's bourgeois leaders. This reinforces the secondary status of the periphery in the capitalist world system, creating a widening gap between the richest and poorest citizens of the world. It leads to economic and political crises when the world's poor rebel against their unequal global economic position. Thanks for watching.